Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the entrance of our official party. Please remain standing for the invocation given by Chaplain Giannone.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come before you and ask your blessings upon the ceremonies that are about to take place. We thank you for Chief Master Sergeant Reginald Murrell, who has entered our lives in various ways and will soon hang up his uniform to begin another of life's seasons. His transition makes us reflective and grateful. Grateful for enthusiasm and goals towards which to work. Grateful for fellow airmen and their families who have been our teachers and our students and who encouraged, corrected, and sustained us in good times and bad. Grateful for his witness to values that are everlasting. We ask your blessings upon Chief Master Sergeant Murrell and his family as they begin the next chapter in their lives. Instill them with an awareness of your presence and peace. Additionally, we thank you for choosing leaders with integrity who ably lead the mission, who motivate us in our work, and ultimately promote freedom in the world. We humbly ask your blessings upon Colonel Mark Hammerer and Colonel Trent Edwards as they pass between them the guidon of command. As it passes, strengthen them both in the task to which you have called them, as they prepare for their next assignment. Be with Colonel Edwards and his family as he leads the 37th Training Wing to even greater heights of excellence. Give us the commitment to serve our new commander well. Finally, we ask your blessings on all these new airmen who have completed a difficult and challenging period of discipline and training. We know you have taught us that whatever is good must be sought after with great persistence and effort. We are grateful for these who have persevered and are now ready to serve you, their country, and their Air Force. Guide them and grant them wisdom, determination, and understanding. May your grace, peace, and love touch everyone here today. For it is in your name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Giannone. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Today, we are honored to have with us several distinguished guests, beginning with the official party for today's ceremony, the Commander, 2nd Air Force, Major General Leonard Patrick, and his wife, Lynn. The Commander, 37th Training Wing, Colonel Mark Hammerer, and his wife, Julie. The incoming Commander, Colonel Trent Edwards, his wife, Vanessa, and their son, Dylan. Colonel Edwards' aunt, Mrs. Shirley Lightfoot, and cousin, Joey Sims, and the Edwards friends, Major General Alfred Flowers, United States Air Force retired, Mr. and Mrs. Tracy Brown, and Mr. and Mrs. Phil Wright, and Mrs. Gladys Green. We are also privileged to have with us this morning the Commander, Air Education and Training Command, General Robin Rand, and his wife, Kim. General Edward Rice, United States Air Force retired, and his wife, Teresa. General William McBride, United States Air Force retired. The Command Chief Master Sergeant, 37th Training Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Lou Ori, and his wife, Mona. Although time does not allow us to introduce all our distinguished guests, the 37th Training Wing welcomes all commanders, honorary commanders, deputies, chiefs, first sergeants, friends, and family members who have joined us in this memorable occasion. Today, we give special recognition to one of the Air Force's finest senior non-commissioned officers, Chief Master Sergeant Reginald Murrell, Squadron Superintendent, 326th Training Squadron, 737th Training Group, Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas. On 1 September 2014, Chief Murrell will bring to close a distinguished military career with over 29 years of faithful and dedicated service to his country. Chief Master Sergeant Reginald Murrell grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and reported to Air Force Basic Military Training in June 1985. His background includes various duties in security forces, education and training, and professional military education, as well as squadron and group superintendent positions. His current duties include advising the commander on matters influencing the unit's mission effectiveness, health, safety, welfare, morale, and the effective utilization of 60 assigned enlisted personnel in 9 diverse Air Force specialty codes and 1 civilian within the Department of Defense. He leads, mentors, and oversees 50 military training instructors as they conduct training operations at basic military training, developing over 5,000 citizens into warrior airmen of character annually that populate 130 different Air Force specialty codes. Chief Morrell, your selfless dedication for the past 29 years will not be forgotten. We salute you and wish you and your family the best in all your future endeavors and remind you that you will always be part of the Air Force family. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Major General Leonard Patrick welcomes you to today's Change of Command ceremony and graduation parade. This morning, in a centuries-old tradition, the men and women of the 37th Training Wing will observe a change of command in which the reins of responsibility and leadership will pass from Colonel Mark Kammerer to Colonel Trent Edwards. From ancient times, armies throughout the world have conducted ceremonies to commemorate victory over the enemy, to honor comrades in arms, and to celebrate special occasions such as the change of command. History reveals that in the Middle Ages, it was not uncommon for the soldiers in the field to be unaware of who their commanders were or what they looked like. The formal change of command ceremony afforded the troops the opportunity to witness the proceedings and to actually see their commanders. The Continental Army of the United States conducted the first official change of command ceremony in America. This was the basis from which present ceremonies are derived. Today, the primary purpose of a change of command ceremony is to allow subordinates the opportunity to witness the formality of command change from one officer to another. These ceremonies have added color and pageantry to military life while preserving tradition and stimulating esprit de corps. The airmen who will pass in review today have completed a demanding 8-week program that provides Air Force units throughout the world with trained airmen. Part of that training includes the time-proven concepts of military customs and traditions, of which this parade is a vital part. All graduating airmen will also march over the Enlisted Heroes Walk. They will lead the way for the thousands of airmen that will follow, all reflecting on our enlisted heritage, tradition of honor, and our legacy of valor. Our Commander of Airmen is Technical Sergeant Joshua Height, Instructor, Military Training Instructor School, 737th Training Support Squadron. Major General Patrick will review today's ceremony. 737th Training Group, United States Air Force, Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas. Subject, Honor Flight Streamer. The Honor Flight Streamer is awarded to the 331st Training Squadron, Flight 381, for their significant accomplishments demonstrating teamwork, excellence, and esprit de corps during the period of 28 April 2014 through 20 June 2014. Signed, Michelle Edmondson, Colonel, United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of Ruffles and Flourishes.
Have the colors come forward.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Patrick.
Good morning, everybody. It just doesn't get any better than that to honor our nation with that background and our national anthem on a Friday morning in southern Texas. I want to say thank you to the MTI Corps and the Drum and Bugle Corps for doing that for us today. General Rand, General Rice, General McBride, fellow general officers, chiefs, commanders, civic leaders, family members of our graduating airmen, welcome to today's ceremony. And today is remarkable in many ways. On the one hand, we honor a Chief Master Sergeant who spent 29 years of his adult life defending our nation and also sending additional airmen behind him and training them in his way of doing business. In front of us, we have 488 of the newest airmen in our Air Force that will follow in his footsteps. To my left, I've got a commander and his spouse who are getting ready to go on to a new journey after their second command. And I've got another commander who's getting ready to start his second command in a new Air Force journey. It just doesn't get any better than that. But there's one other group I want to point out, and that's the men and women that are wearing the campaign hats, that have trained and sweated over the young men and women that are standing in formation before you for the last 8.5 weeks. Their legacy is not the campaign hat that they wear. It's not the stripes on their sleeves, and it's not the ribbons on their chest. It's the 488 men and women in formation that are getting ready to join the long blue line. And please, give the military training instructors a round of applause. Command is a privilege. Not every Air Force officer gets that opportunity, but the cameras have had several, culminating in this event with the 37th Training Wing. Mark and Julie have done a remarkable job, but it's not just about basic military training that they've done. They've been in command for 21 months. They've got 6 major training groups, including the 737th Training Group. Over the last 21 months, they've graduated 167,000 students into our Air Force. They've taught 459 courses, and they've awarded 56 Air Force specialty codes to those 167,000 students. And finally, they've trained men and women to go into harm's way from the Air Advisory Academy to build nations abroad. In addition to that, they've dealt with the Inter-American Air Forces Academy and the Defense Language Institute of English Language. It's been an incredible command, Mark. You and Julie have done a magnificent job. And each and every step along the way, you've been professional, you've been factual, and you've separated the art from the science. I've looked forward to those nightly calls that we've had and our consult together on issues that have been happening in the San Antonio area. But at the same time, your counsel with the other 3 wing commanders and direct reporting groups has been immeasurable. You heard that from Colonel Edmondson last night. She said that she's watched you from abroad and learned how to be a better commander than the commander she already was. Mark, we're going to miss you. I know I'm going to have to rip the command flag out of your hand, and there's going to be splinters in it. I know your footsteps are all over the 37th Training Wing. At the same time, you can hold your head high. You served nobly, professionally, and I'm proud to call you wingman. You and Julie are an incredible Air Force couple, and I can't wait to see you wearing those stars. And the Air Force has brought in another fantastic Air Force couple with Trent and Vanessa Edwards. No stranger to command. He just gave up the flag at Maxwell Air Force Base and the 42nd Air Base Wing a couple of weeks ago. He's been silently watching the last couple of weeks on what this wing does, not only on this parade field, but throughout the rest of the training groups. He's ready. I've sat in both of those seats. I know what Colonel Cameron is feeling right now, and I know what Colonel Edwards is feeling. Trent, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm telling you what, when you see the 4,000 family members that are in the stands here week in and week out, and you get to graduate the long blue line, supplying the life's blood to our Air Force, you'll be proud to one day stand up here and do what I'm getting ready to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I am profoundly honored to be the 2nd Air Force Commander and to officiate today's change of command ceremony. I couldn't have done it without two great officers, and that's Colonel Mark Hammer and Colonel Trent Edwards. You two are the greatest officers I've been associated with, and I know both of you are going to go on to greater things. You're superior Air Force families, and I can't wait to see what both of you do in the future. May God bless both of your families, and may God bless America.
Thank you, Major General Patrick. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Cameron.
Well, this is really going to happen, isn't it? So you maybe don't realize that until you're standing right here at this moment. But let me start first by saying a couple of welcomes to General Rand and Mrs. Rand, General Rice, Mrs. Rice, General McBride, and of course to the Patricks, General Patrick and Mrs. Patrick. And thank you for being here today, and thank you for your leadership over the last 2 years of command. I also want to say hi to our distinguished visitors, our honorary commanders, and our elected officials, to my fellow colonels, the chiefs, and our many, many distinguished guests from our local community, and all the family members from around our great nation, and especially to the men and women of the 37th Training Wing. This is a great day to be in our United States Air Force, and it's a great day to be at Lackland. The presence of so many distinguished visitors speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about the tremendous support our wing receives from our mission partners, our elected officials, our retired community. This community is renowned for its amazing support to our military. And today it's easy to see that San Antonio's reputation as Military City, USA is well deserved. Julie and I have enjoyed getting to know each of you over the last 21 months, and we both thank you for being here today. I also want to extend my greetings to the Edwards family, to Trent, Vanessa, and to Dylan. It's evident to me that you are the right team to lead this wing. You're passionate and compassionate leaders. So my best wishes to you in this new assignment. Your dedication and your caring leadership will make a difference. So ladies and gentlemen, today as we record this event in the prominent heritage of the 37th Training Wing, I am thankful for several things. And first and foremost, I am thankful for God's abundant blessings. And whenever I take stock in the blessing of command, I am always reminded of His words from the 20th chapter of the book of Matthew. To be your greatest, be a servant. And I could not be a servant to our nation or to our Air Force or to this wing without the continued support of my wife. So Julie, you stood by me. You supported me. You've managed to make it all work, and you've loved me. And in every assignment, and doubly in this one, you've been my rock. So to you I say thank you, knowing full well that a simple thank you is never enough. But fortunately, ladies and gentlemen, We've got three great generals, General Patrick, General Rice, and General Rand, that have been pulling for us, and they gave us a much better gift in our next assignment to Germany. So how's that for a graduation gift from command? So to General Patrick, General Rice, and General Rand, these are the three commanders who entrusted me with command. And to USA sirs, I am thankful to have had the opportunity to command the 37th Training Wing. I fully understand that commanders are endowed with special trust and confidence, and I have endeavored to uphold that trust and confidence. And I owe each of you a debt of gratitude for your unwavering support and leadership during my tenure as commander. General Patrick, sir, you are a phenomenal leader, and I wish you and Lynn absolutely the best when you take your next post as the Vice Commander of Air Education and Training Command. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 37th Training Wing has a distinguished heritage and a dynamic mission. We have 6 groups and academies spread over 9 states. We're charged to develop America's greatest resource and most valuable commodity, its people. We have a responsibility to our United States Air Force and a multitude of international partners to develop people who hold the skill sets required to meet today's operational challenges while preparing for tomorrow's unforetold emergencies. You see, people are not in the United States Air Force. People are the United States Air Force. Our force is people, living, breathing, serving human beings. Our people have needs. They have interests and desires. They have weaknesses and faults, and strengths and virtues. People are at the heart of our preparedness. Our preparedness as a United States Air Force and a nation depends upon the spirit of our people, the spirit of our airmen. It is their spirit that gives our Air Force an identity. It is their spirit, the spirit of our people, that give the Air Force a life. And it is our people, our well-trained, capable, and professional airmen that give the Air Force the capability to carry out our mission to ensure that we can and will always be able to fly, fight, and win. And a look at history will reveal this. 70 years ago, Axis powers placed freedom everywhere at great peril. And Winston Churchill, speaking to the Allied powers' resolve to prevail, declared, "What kind of people do they think we are?" And it was soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines who showed them what kind of people we were. We were a free people. And at the close of World War II, freedom was the victor. And when the Soviets built a wall in Germany and Stalin declared to freedom-loving people in the Western Berlin, "We will crush you," freedom-loving people were moved to act. And our Air Force sustained Berlin. And 30 years later, President Reagan triumphantly declared, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." And today that wall is down. And 13 years ago, our country was attacked by haters of freedom. And President Bush, in his address to the nation, said these acts of mass murder were intended to frighten us into chaos and retreat, but they have failed. Our country is strong, and a great people has been moved to defend a great nation. And in proof of his words, our nation committed to a war on terror, and it's a war that continues today. And to defeat the haters of freedom everywhere, our nation looks upon and depends upon the United States Air Force. And today our Air Force has airmen around the globe, airmen who are in harm's way, airmen who love freedom. They are airmen who were trained by the men and women of the 37th Training Wing, and they are well-trained, capable, and professional airmen who know how to fly, fight, and win. So Warhawk Wing, you have shouldered the responsibility to train, develop, and strengthen our nation's most precious asset, our people. It's been a weighty responsibility that demanded absolute professionalism, and by absolute professionalism, I mean strict adherence to our core values of integrity first and service before self, and excellence in all we do. And it was these core values that make the Air Force what it is. It's these core values that instill the confidence to earn lasting respect. They are the values that anchor resolve in the most difficult situations, and they are the values that buttress mental and physical courage when our airmen enter combat. In essence, they are the three pillars of professionalism that provide the foundation for the spirit that is within our airmen. Warhawk Wing, together we have served our nation with honor and dignity. Together we have developed airmen that teamed with our international partners so that our people, so that our airmen, these airmen you see before you today, will always hold the skill sets required to meet today's operational challenges and be prepared for tomorrow's unforetold emergencies. We are the unit that provides the people, the airman spirit, the lifeblood to the United States Air Force. We are the unit that ensures we will always fly, fight, and win. So General Patrick, sir, thank you for the opportunity to lead Air Education and Training Command's largest and most critical training wing. It has been an honor and a privilege. It's been one that I will never forget. Colonel Edwards, congratulations on taking the reins today. You're the right man for the challenge. So distinguished guests, men and women at 37th Training Wing, thank you for everything you have done to ensure the future of our nation and our Air Force. May God continue to bless the United States of America, the United States Air Force, and the men and women of the 37th Training Wing.
Thank you, Colonel Kammerer. Major General Patrick will now officiate the change of command as command of the 37th Training Wing is formally passed from Colonel Kammerer to Colonel Edwards. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the publication of orders. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, 2nd Air Force, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Special Order Number G-1441. Under the provisions of Air Force Instruction 51-604 and effective 20 June 2014, Colonel Mark Kammerer relinquishes command of the 37th Training Wing, Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas, and effective 20 June 2014, Colonel Trent Edwards assumes command of the 37th Training Wing, Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas, by order of the Commander, 2nd Air Force, Major General Leonard Patrick.
Sir, I assume command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 37th Training Wing, Colonel Trent Edwards.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. General and Mrs. Rand, General and Mrs. Rice, Major General and Mrs. Patrick, Major General Flowers, Chief Tapia, General Officers, Colonels, Chiefs, Commanders, Directors, and distinguished community leaders, mission partners, airmen, families, and friends. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to attend this ceremony. Thanks to the protocol officers, the project officers, and the volunteers who helped put this event together. And thanks to our newest American Airmen for being a part of this change of command ceremony. It's been a long 8.5 weeks, and I know you are anxious to be with your family and your friends, so I will make this quick. To Colonel Camera, sir, thanks to you and Julie for your staunch leadership and support of the 37th Training Wing over the last 21 months. Your commitment to the mission made a big difference across the wing and throughout our United States Air Force. Vanessa and I look forward to building on your success. General Rand and Major General Patrick, sirs, I am honored, I am humbled for this privilege to command the 37th Training Wing, a wing that for the last 68 years has served as the gateway to the Air Force, transitioning more than 7 million of America's sons and daughters into American airmen, poised and ready to provide global vigilance, global reach, and global power for America. Thanks for your trust and confidence in my leadership. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. I will work hard as we graduate 85,000 students a year from more than 450 technical training career fields, from medical and dental technicians to enlisted aircrew members, from logisticians, recruiters, special operations weather teams, pararescue, and security forces. They all train right here at Lackland as part of the 37th Training Wing. We will continue to focus on the 3,500 international students from 110 countries who are trained on English as a second language. Our training includes the Secretary of State for the Serbian Ministry of Defense and general officers from NATO partners and allies such as Lithuania. It is a vital mission to our nation. We will work hard to ensure we continue world-class technical and military education, instrument flight training, and aircraft maintenance, training over 900 military forces and government agencies from 21 different Latin American and Caribbean countries. These relationships are important to the Department of Defense. And I will work hard to preserve air advisor skills, language, region, and cultural studies and fieldcraft skills for the 1,500 personnel a year who deploy around the world, building partnership capacities in countries from the Middle East to Latin America to Africa. Their work is an important part of our national security. The 37th Training Wing is as diverse as the airmen we lead. Collectively, every group, every academy, every center, and every airman assigned to the 37th is responsible for 3 main focus areas. We train future leaders, we develop professional airmen, and we sustain international partnerships. And so, to the men and women of the 37th Training Wing, here's what I know, and here's what I believe. I know this wing supports the national security objectives of our country, and that our mission contributes to the success of the Department of Defense, joint coalition partners, as well as other U.S. federal agencies. And I believe that what we do at the 37th Training Wing is bigger than ourselves. We are charged to sustain international partnerships and shape, mold, and develop the next generation of airmen leaders, joint force leaders, and coalition leaders. It is an incredible responsibility. And the 488 of those future Air Force leaders are standing in front of us right now. And we owe them, their families, and the nation our professional best every single day as they enter the gateway of the Air Force and we transition them from civilian to trainee to American airmen, guardians of freedom and justice, our nation's sword and its shield, its sentry and its avenger. I look forward to serving alongside each and every one of you. Thanks in advance for your service to the nation and all that you will do to keep us the world's greatest Air Force. I am honored to serve as your 37th Training Wing Commander. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Edwards. For today's parade, Major General Patrick has passed the honor of reviewing the graduating airmen to Colonel Kammerer.
March to command and review.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating airmen passing in review today represent a portion of the 33,000 recruits who will complete basic military training this year. The 737th Training Group provides all recruits the essential military training to become motivated members of the enlisted corps of the greatest Air Force in the world. The military training instructors are responsible for the indoctrination, development, and discipline of the airmen. They have dedicated endless hours to ensure all training objectives are met. Today's graduates have proven through academic studies, military training, physical training, and the development of teamwork that they are ready to take their place in the United States Air Force. All warrior airmen of character have participated in a rigorous competition for the coveted award of Honor Flight, a significant accomplishment which only one flight per graduating class is able to achieve. Honor Flight can only be awarded to a flight that achieved excellence in all facets of basic military training. Today, Flight 381 from the 331st Training Squadron is recognized as the honor flight for this graduating class. As our graduates turn left onto the bomb run to pass in review, they will march over the Enlisted Heroes Walk. The airmen recognized on the pavers have been awarded our nation's highest honors, representing heroic and unselfish actions as members of the United States Air Force in armed conflict, including present-day operations in Afghanistan. They include 7 Medals of Honor, 23 Air Force Crosses, and 162 Silver Stars awarded for bravery during encounters with hostile enemy combatants. These enlisted heroes serve to inspire all airmen to execute their duties courageously and with honor in their service to this great nation. Musical support for this morning's ceremony has been provided by the 737th Training Group's Drum and Bugle Corps, 322nd Training Squadron, Flight B389, and Warrior Flight B390. These flights are performing today under the direction of Master Sergeant Samuel Johnson, hometown Stratford, Connecticut. These trainees are also in basic military training, but have been hand-selected to perform for ceremonies of this type. We would like for you to notice our national, state, and territorial flags. As these flags pass in review, please stand and render the appropriate courtesies for our national flag. Once the flags have passed in review, please be courteous of others and be seated in order to allow all our guests the opportunity to view the flights as they pass in review. Now passing in review, our Commander of Airmen is Technical Sergeant Joshua Height, Instructor, Military Training Instructor School, 737th Training Support Squadron, hometown, Kingsport, Tennessee. The Drum and Bugle Corps, Flight B389 and Warrior Flight B390 from the 322nd Training Squadron, led by Master Sergeant Babatunji Akande, hometown Brooklyn, New York, and Technical Sergeant Derek Curry, hometown Columbia, South Carolina. The A Squadron Commander is Technical Sergeant Michael Patterson, Instructor, Military Training Instructor School, 737th Training Support Squadron, hometown Imperial, Missouri. Honor Flight 381 from the 331st Training Squadron, led by Technical Sergeant Daniel Elias, hometown Los Angeles, California. Warrior Flight 382 from the 331st Training Squadron, led by Technical Sergeant Michelle Howe Dominguez, hometown Dothan, Alabama. Flight 383 from the 323rd Training Squadron, led by Staff Sergeant Brandon Slavens, hometown Newport News, Virginia. The flights selected to carry our national, state, and territorial flags are from the 326th Training Squadron, Warrior Flight 385, and Flight 386, led by Technical Sergeant Jacob Breed, hometown Crystal Lake, Illinois, and Staff Sergeant Joshua Gaffney, hometown Morrilton, Arkansas. The B Squadron Commander is Technical Sergeant Akeem Parks, Instructor, Military Training Instructor School, 737th Training Support Squadron, hometown Far Rockaway, New York. Flight 384 from the 323rd Training Squadron, led by Master Sergeant Randy Magdaleno, hometown La Junta, Colorado. Flight 387 from the 331st Training Squadron, led by Technical Sergeant David Garriga, hometown Chicago, Illinois. Flight 388 from the 331st Training Squadron, led by Staff Sergeant Nicholas Leslie, hometown Grove City, Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, now approaching the reviewing stand is the backbone of the basic military training mission, the military training instructors. These men and women are being led by Chief Master Sergeant Richard Sutherland, Jr., Superintendent, 737th Training Group, hometown, Mount Zion, Illinois.
Squadron! Halt!
Colonel Kammerer, on behalf of the proud men and women of the 737th Training Group, we salute you for your superb leadership and outstanding support of Air Force basic military training.
Order! Park! Left! Hey! Forward! Park!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the United States Air Force song. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Want me to read it? Over the last 8.5 weeks, the airmen before you have transformed from civilians into motivated, disciplined warrior airmen with the foundation to serve in the world's greatest Air Force. Once these airmen leave basic military training, they will attend technical training to learn the skills needed to perform in one of over 130 Air Force specialties. They will then move on to serve in one of over 84 Air Force bases around the world and work directly with our sister services. Of the hundreds of thousands of American citizens that enter the workforce each year, less than 1% have joined the ranks of the U.S. military, and an even smaller percentage have joined the United States Air Force. You should be proud of their accomplishments thus far. The airmen before you have reached a milestone in their Air Force journey and will require your continued support to assist them in their future endeavors. These airmen are the future of our Air Force and will pave the way for future generations of airmen as we continue to fly, fight, and win. We would like to take a moment to congratulate all of our Squadron Honor graduates as well as their families. Basic military training honor graduates distinguish themselves by being ranked in the top 10% of all airmen graduating in their class. The exceptional personal dedication, integrity, service before self, and sustained excellence these airmen displayed throughout basic military training earned them this outstanding distinction. As the airmen march forward for the oath of enlistment, we would like to thank the families and friends who are here in support of the airmen graduating today. Your words of encouragement helped motivate these airmen through 8 weeks of basic military training. On behalf of the United States Air Force and Air Force Basic Military Training, we extend our thanks to the many families and friends of America's airmen for the support of your airmen and the greatest air power the world has ever known. Colonel Kammerer will now come forward and address our graduated airmen.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, friends, and family, what do you think of your airmen? Yeah, I agree with you. Isn't it just a magnificent day? What a beautiful day we've got here in Texas. What a great day to honor these airmen and the hard work that they've gone through to get where they are today. And I'll tell you, they didn't do it without your support. So to the friends and families that traveled all over our nation to be here today on this special day with your airmen, I tell you, thank you. They will need your continued support in the coming days and weeks and months As they go through their technical training, they go on to their first duty assignment, and then we ask them to deploy, some of them into harm's way for long periods of time to serve our nation. So in advance, friends and family, I tell you thank you for being here, and thank you for continuing to support your airmen. They will need it. In our audience today, we have another group of people that I want to recognize, and those are our veterans. If you're a veteran and you're here with us today and you're able to stand, will you please do so we can recognize you appropriately? So Airmen, those veterans that stood, those are the ones that we have built our legacy upon, and it is your job and duty to make them proud, to continue their legacy. So veterans, I tell you thank you for serving. Thank you for being here today. Before I address our airmen, I want to address our MTI Corps. It has been my absolute honor and privilege to serve with you. These are the finest NCOs that our nation has to offer. And we bring them here because the duty that they do is absolutely critical to the future of our United States Air Force. And they do it day in and day out at great personal sacrifice for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they know that their job is critically important to our ability as the United States Air Force to fly, fight, and win. So MTIs, I know how hard you work. I know how hard you've worked these last 2 years to get us where we are as a wing, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I respect each and every one of you. And if you would just join me in a massive round of applause for these MTIs. MTIs, you honored Julie and I today with your MTI mast. And it was that special or what? Hey, if you're here as a family or a friend, they don't do that every week. It takes a lot of work and practice and dedication to pull that off and make it look as good as they did. And I tell you, you honored me. I know you're standing back there behind the podium, and I'm telling you, you look marvelous. And Chief Sutherland, great job leading the MTIs down the bomb run. Thank you for doing that. Well, this is the last time I get to do this, and that is going to be to administer the oath of enlistment to our newest airmen. And I'm telling you, airmen, I've been out here for a couple of years now watching a lot of parades, and this is as good as it's ever been. In fact, I think it's the best parade I've ever seen. Guidon bearers, when you did the Officer Center, it was fantastic, phenomenal, and spot on. The flag mast, with the little bit of breeze we have today, I know that duty was difficult, and you looked marvelous. And didn't the band sound great? So Airmen, I know that you were here and you heard my comments earlier, and in those comments I talked about core values. I'm going to give you a piece of advice as you go on to your next duty station, your technical training, and that is to remember what you've learned in basic military training. The foundation of your ability to serve in our United States Air Force are those core values. That is an entry-level requirement. You need to adhere to them. You need to live by them. You need to adopt them. That is what makes us special and different than any other organization on the face of the planet. That is what makes us number one, and number two isn't even close. So I'm going to charge you to live by our core values, and I know that you're going to do that. So now, Airmen, let's get on with the rest of the day, and I got a question for you. Are you ready to serve in the ranks of the world's greatest airmen? Okay, I think they're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Colonel Kammerer will now administer the oath of enlistment.
Airmen, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Trent Edwards,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
to bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to obey the orders of the President of the United States
and to obey the orders of the President of the United States
and the orders of the officers appointed over me.
and the orders of the officers appointed over me.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Airmen. Welcome to the United States Air Force.
Thank you, Colonel Kammerer. Colonel Kammerer, the men and women of the 37th Training Wing are proud to have served with you and wish you and Mrs. Kammerer good luck and best wishes in your new assignment. We would also like to welcome Colonel and Mrs. Edwards and their families as he assumes his new duties as commander of the 37th Training Wing. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as our newest airmen recite the Airman's Creed and remain in place for the departure of our official party. I am an American airman.
I am a warrior. I have answered my nation's call. I am an American airman. My mission is to fly, fight, and win. I am faithful to a proud heritage, a tradition of honor, and a legacy of valor. I am an American airman, guardian of freedom and justice, my nation's sword and shield, its sentry and avenger. I defend my country with my life. I am an American airman. Wing, leader, warrior. I will never leave an airman behind. I will never falter.
Thank you. Please be seated. Once I get past the flights. As viewed from the bleachers, from your left to your right, the first two flights to pass in review today are from the 331st Training Squadron, Honor Flight 381 and Warrior Flight 382. They are followed by the 323rd Training Squadron, Flights 383 and 384. The last two flights to pass in review today are from the 331st Training Squadron, Flights 387 and 388. Airmen in the State Flag Mass, Warrior Flight 385 and Flight 386 from the 326th Training Squadron will be released to their visitors at the equipment locker to your left after they have secured the flags. Airmen in the Drum and Bugle Corps, Flights B389 and Warrior Flight B390 from the 322nd Training Squadron will meet their family members at the north side bleachers near the equipment lockers after they have secured their instruments. Please be careful while exiting the bleachers and while moving on to the grassy areas. For your safety, we also ask that you only use the stairs to exit the bleachers. All airmen are now released to their visitors. Thank you for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your stay at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, Texas.